The following program is rated 14 plus and contains scenes of violence, coarse language, and mature themes. Viewer discretion is advised.
You feel high?
Super duper high.
Ancient psychedelic medicines are moving from underground.
Yes, it's illegal. I guess if I get caught, I get caught.
To mainstream.
It's happening now for several reasons. For one thing, the current mental health treatments are not very effective. We needed something better.
It's a shit show out there in this world, and there's a lot of people suffering from depression. I'm not saying I'm not one of them. I'm definitely one of them.
We may have something here that has the potential to be the equivalent of a cure for cancer in the mental health space.
And Canadian business is looking to cash in.
They are looking for the next big thing. They had cannabis. They're saying, what's next? And it turned out to be psychedelics.
Can they succeed where modern medicines have failed?
You know, it's time to really make amends with yourself, not put yourself through the hardships anymore, right?
One war hero is on a new mission to find out.
How can I help you heal from this?
He's facing death. It's worth a shot. There's no assurances, but there's also no other options.
My name is Patrick Bolden. We're in Ancaster, Ontario, just outside of Hamilton. Grew up here until I joined the military. I was in the military for over 20 years, and I did a tour in Afghanistan where I was deployed as a bomb disposal unit. What I saw in Afghanistan and what I experienced was just a level of hatred that it was hard to imagine. When you've been there and you've been through it and you've seen and lived and smelled, and you can't unsee or unsmell these things. It just got worse and worse. The nightmares, sleep deprivation, the drinking. Got seen by the head psychiatrist. First they medicated me. Antidepressants, sleep medications, antipsychotic. These medications that I was taking did not fucking work. They did not work at all. They demoralized me even more.
Patrick was awarded the Medal of Bravery for his work in Afghanistan, but after being medically discharged in 2011, his life spiraled out of control.
I'm a drug addict. So my drug of choice now has become crystal meth. If I sleep, I wake up and first thing that I do is do a line. It's just a complete lack of control. It's just killing me. From the inside, it's just breaking my heart. Staying home getting high by yourself, this is no way to live. I don't want to die.
Having exhausted all options modern science has to offer, Patrick is hoping traditional medicine will help him. Specifically, a mind-altering psychedelic.
Psychedelics had therapeutic applications that nothing else can fill. psychedelic plants like ayahuasca, iboga, and magic mushrooms can produce profoundly altered states of consciousness because they will knock you off your socks. They'll knock you off your base. That's the whole point. You can have insights into why am I traumatized? Why am I depressed? Why do I feel this way? My name is Dennis McKenna, and I'm an ethnopharmacologist, somebody that studies basically the use of medicinal plants in traditional societies, in indigenous societies. I'm a child of the 60s. That was a time of cultural ferment and a lot of excitement. Psychedelics were just sort of coming into public consciousness at that time. There was a stigma that built up, and there was a lot of hysteria. And psychedelics were all pretty much banned and classified, and still are actually, as so-called Schedule 1 substances, which means dangerous, high potential for abuse, no possible medical use. Well, science has now shown that that's ridiculous. That's an absurd classification for something like psychedelics. The researchers that are leading this are identifying other uses, all supported by good science. You know, this was not fly-by-night stuff. These were very well-structured, highly credible studies. And the studies showed that these psychedelics can be effective, they can be safe to treat mental health.
This unprecedented shift is paving the way for scientists to develop psychedelic medicines in the lab. Leading the way, Canadian companies like Nanaimo-based Numinous.
You're getting text messages from my son. What you doing, Mom? Oh, you know, chopping up some mushrooms. We're looking for psilocybin.
Psilocybin is the compound that people associate with magic mushrooms. In the research studies that are being done, it's being used for both substance use disorder and for depression and anxiety. And the research really shows that there's a very strong signal that we may have something here that metaphorically has the potential to be the equivalent of a cure for cancer in the mental health space.
The work being done here is a scientific and legal breakthrough.
Psilocybin mushrooms are actually a controlled substance, and you have to have a controlled substances license to do any of this stuff.
We're one of the first companies to receive a controlled drugs and substances license from Health Canada. So we'll be able to test these mushrooms, making sure that the research findings that we come up with is accessible to other companies that are looking to conduct their own research on their products.
Numinous was founded in the belief that safe and evidence-based psychotherapy should be accessible to individuals that may benefit, and that's really the mission. Now we can approach these really serious mental health challenges like individuals with post-traumatic stress disorder who have explored every possible treatment, veterans coming back from Iraq or Afghanistan. And I can say, we have a really good chance of getting you to a place where you could put this behind you completely.
So there was an IED that call that we responded to in the Panjwai district. So I was doing a hand dismantle on an IED, and after I had rendered it safe, I did a search for secondaries, and really close to it there was a disturbed earthen. And then I found a scarf, Afghani scarf there, pulled it out, unwrapped it. and there was a dead baby that had a explosive device strapped to it. I think if you could pinpoint one moment in time where your whole life changed, you know, I think that my heart broke right there.
Patrick is preparing to fly to Vancouver to take part in an ancient ceremony where he'll take the psychedelic African root called iboga under the care of an experienced practitioner, Mark Howard.
Iboga is a shrub that grows in mainly Africa. The medicine has physical abilities to help someone, you know, purge toxins out of their body. It has the ability to go and clean someone's spirit up as well. It offers them the opportunity to take a deep dive into their self and get an idea of different experiences that have happened that are affecting them now.
Iboga is not being studied as extensively as psilocybin, so nobody yet has legal approval to prescribe it.
When talking to Patrick, he's under the grip of a very powerful, strong addiction with methamphetamines. I mean, he was facing death, you know, so it's worth a shot. There's no assurances, but there's also no other options.
If I don't get on that plane, I'm not gonna live for much longer.
Patrick Molden has arrived in Vancouver to prepare for the psychedelic treatment he hopes can change his life.
How you doing?
How are you?
He's meeting up with another PTSD sufferer who's already used iboga.
It's time for me to latch onto this like a fucking life dinghy in the wind, man, because it's real.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably like me, like I exhausted all the typical or what people would call normal routes, like the counseling and stuff.
Yeah.
And this was one of the few things that I found that actually helped.
Yeah.
I'm Eric Craig Bjarnson, and I'm a retired firefighter and rescue member. When you freeze your hands, it's so bizarre because it's so painful. It's like dipping them in boiling water, and then that pain moves up your arm.
In 2005, a whole bunch of us from Search and Rescue went up on Mount Logan and we got hit by a subtropical cyclone at altitude.
We just happened to be at the worst possible place, at the worst possible time when the cyclone hit us, and we ended up digging in and trying to survive. It took about 3 days for our buddies to get to us, so it was -90 with the wind chill. And I remember when I was finally pulled off the mountain thinking, oh my God, this is surreal. Like for 3 days I was getting prepared mentally to die, and now all of a sudden I'm gonna live. They amputated just all my fingers up the first knuckle on this hand, before the first knuckle on this hand, and then half my thumb. The recovery process was quite difficult. And that's when I started drinking. And that became my life. So I talked to a gentleman, he told me about iboga. So why don't I try this? And I went down and I went through a couple ceremonies. I went from drinking almost every single day Like a lot, like not a couple beer, I'm talking like, you know, bottle of a 26er. To now, like I can have a glass of wine or have a couple of beer and call it a day. What I found with the Iboga, it makes you have an incredibly serious talk with yourself, and kind of gave me some insight into what I need to do, changes I need to make.
It's a big step, it's a desperate step, but it's the only step, it's the only way.
Patrick needs to spend the next several days undergoing a complete detox, an essential step ahead of his Iboga treatment.
With psychedelics, the effects are spectacular. When it works, the effects are, can't argue with them. It really works if it's properly done. I think we're a long way from the point where you can go to a psychedelic therapist and request this therapy and get insurance to pay for it. There's only one psychedelic, and it isn't even a true psychedelic, but that you can use in that clinical setting that's approved, and that is ketamine.
Hello.
Hi there.
Nice to meet with you.
Nice to meet with you.
Dr. Roger McIntyre is a professor of psychiatry and pharmacology at the University of Toronto. He started Canada's first clinic to treat mood disorders using ketamine, a decades-old drug originally designed for another purpose.
Ketamine is a pharmacologic agent that has two indications in medicine. It's used in anesthesia. It's used, for example, to carry out surgical procedures. Ketamine also now has an indication as an antidepressant. In fact, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration labeled ketamine as a breakthrough drug in psychiatry, a superlative that they don't usually bandy about.
In 2019, the U.S. FDA gave the same breakthrough status to psilocybin. McIntyre is now the CEO of a new company investigating its potential, Champignon Brands.
With Champignon Brands, what we're interested in is to, hopefully in the future, identify other types of treatments like psychedelics that might be in some ways better and safer than the existing medications we have. If other treatments get across the finish line with safety and efficacy, let's make them available. So we have a clinic in Toronto, we're looking at other clinics around the world to make them available. We're in the lab, synthesizing, looking at potential, what we call candidates, and once we have a candidate, then we'll move in fact to a healthy volunteer first-in-human study.
A lot of companies now are looking at psilocybin. And naturally, when you have something like that, you're going to attract the attention of the investment community. Entrepreneurs always looking for some place to invest their money. Where the money is to be made is in terms of the services that you provide. You have to have a place to do this, you have to have experienced therapists with training. That's where the money is.
A proven clinic generates revenue. People recognize that you can make a lot of money in that space by funding early-stage companies.
Bill O'Hara monitors newly launched psychedelic companies for investors.
They are looking for the next big thing. They had cannabis. They're saying, what's next? And it turned out to be psychedelics. Once the approvals are granted, you'll see a competition for these drugs to be developed and then prescribed. And that's going to be a huge market. And that'll create another flood of investment.
There are now more than 200 companies researching psychedelics, many based in Canada.
We are still in the very early stages when it comes to psilocybin. We are uncertain as to whether this treatment will be safe. That's the first thing we need to prove, and if it is effective. It's certainly very, very promising.
Wow, I don't know of anything that cures post-traumatic stress like the psilocybin does.
Do one more compression and then I'll do one more run.
Yes, it's illegal. I guess if I get caught, I get caught. Got to fold it in really slowly or else it goes into powder everywhere. That's what makes me a chocolatier.
John Sayer has been using magic mushrooms illegally for the past 8 years.
Everything I learned is mostly online.
His specialty? Psychedelic candies.
If you grind up the mushrooms and then put them in a chocolate and mix it up, then you can microdose. Microdosing is when you just take a small little amount. So recreational, you'd probably do a gram, but microdosing about 100 milligrams, which is 1/10 of a gram. And you don't get high. It blocks part of the brain that has bad thoughts. I was an elevator mechanic and I did maintenance. I loved to ski, loved to golf, riding motorcycles. I had a great job and life was good. I was on my way to the mechanics to get an oil change and a SUV crossed the center line and hit me head on. And over 30 upper body fractures, tore my leg off. I was in the hospital for 8.5 months. If it wasn't for microdosing, I wouldn't have gone through it the same. I'd reset something in my brain, and the post-traumatic stress, now I don't have it at all. That's 125 milligrams per piece.
John sells the chocolates and homemade capsules by word of mouth, with help from his friend Steve Mather.
So this is a pre-mix.
Okay.
So then I need you to just dump a bunch in there.
Yeah.
Get them fluffed up so that they're fluffed and ready to rock and roll. That's good. So, and then this one is the mushrooms, if I can get you to fluff that in there. I generally, do the research, come up with the mix. And John's been the guy that has the best of the mushrooms you can find. Quality control is very, very important. You want to be precise with the psychedelic aspect. This is the first time I've come forward publicly. I suffer PTSD and anxiety. Freedom. This represents freedom. It represents freedom from being stuck in a dark place in your head. And I just hope that we could help a lot of people find freedom. One more compression and then I'll do one more run.
We're not making any money by any means, but we're not in it really to make a lot of money. We're in it mostly to helping people. It's the best thing. It doesn't work for everybody. It's not a cure-all. It only works on about 2/3 of the people that I've worked with.
30, big fella.
Yes, it's illegal. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be legalized once the studies start showing how much it's helping people.
The Honourable Member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to present e-petition 2534. Almost 15,000 Canadians have signed this petition calling for the decriminalization of psychoactive plants and fungi that have traditionally been used for medicinal and ceremonial purposes by Indigenous people since time immemorial. I've known for a long time that psychedelics can help people with addiction issues. I had a cousin who had schizophrenia, who was very close to me growing up, and he was in and out of the criminal justice system for years. The last time he got out of prison, he was on a bus on his way home and died of an opiate overdose on the back of the bus in the bathroom. It matters, yeah. Just gotta compose myself a little bit. The petition calls on the Government of Canada to amend the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, the Food and Drug Act, and regulations to distinguish and exempt these organisms when used for therapeutic practices, as adjuncts to medical care, for healing ceremonies, or solitary spiritual growth and self-development. One of the things that I learned about psilocybin after my cousin died is that microdosing on psilocybin actually changes the nature of the voices in people's heads. You know, it's one of those things I would have liked to have known when my cousin was still alive. And I think this petition, it's another piece of the pressure that's added to the government to deal with the crisis that we're facing with mental health and addiction.
But not everyone is waiting for the law to change. One Canadian company is setting up shop where it's already legal.
Just video me, okay? I'm gonna go talk. Wow, wow. Thank you all for coming. Can I hear one? Thank you all, first and foremost.
Hi, my name is Todd Shapiro. I'm the CEO of Red Light Holland. We're here in the Netherlands. We're a publicly traded company, though, back in Canada. A lot of people will ask me, well, why'd you start your business in the Netherlands? You're a Canadian. They legalized it. Red Light Holland has developed a brand. It's called iMicrodose.
iMicrodose contains low levels of psilocybin, extracted from magic truffles.
It's a beautiful product. It's got iMicrodose freshness, and you go and use it and read the instructions. There's a leaflet. It's very safe use. We are going to have iMicrodose packs on shelves in the Netherlands in a market where we're allowed to do this.
Red Light Holland is building a large infrastructure to support the business, which includes this farm in Horst, 2 hours outside Amsterdam.
I purposely tried to get a group of people to support Red Light Holland who were successful, and successful on a global scale. So let's look, for example, with Russell Peters.
Back in the day, when you see a white person, you knew they were white immediately. But now you need to confirm. What are you, sir? Are you white? Even you hesitated.
I'm the CCO of Red Light Holland. I got involved with the company via Todd Shapiro, who asked me if I would come on board and help be part of the creative, or rather run the creative side of it. Look at the times we're living in right now. It's a shit show out there in this world, and there's a lot of people suffering from depression. And I'm not saying I'm not one of them. I'm definitely one of them. And if this can somehow bring your downs up and keep your ups up, then I'm all for it. I still have not tried it, but I will be trying it, and I hopefully will have a great experience with it.
I want other countries to hopefully see what the Netherlands currently sees, which is make this stuff legally, but do it responsibly. And maybe we can start with other markets, like Canada one day.
We love you all. Cheers. Thank you. iMicrodose.
Back in Canada, Patrick Molden is 14 days sober. He's being assessed by a psychologist ahead of his Iboga ceremony.
Tell me, please, what's bringing you to this experience of Iboga?
So, short and skinny of it is addiction, heavily addicted to crystal meth.
Okay. And trauma is very, especially such cumulative trauma like yours, it really requires lots of deep therapeutic work, which would normally take years. And I think that's why you came here, because you know that this kind of work with the medicine, it can take you really deep, really fast to address the cause of addiction. And I can't wait to see the result of this for you.
Thanks. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a lot nervous. It's kind of like jumping out of a plane nervous.
We're ready to rock and roll, brother.
Okay, let's do it.
After weeks of preparing, the moment has come for Patrick Molden's Iboga ceremony.
We start off the night, we'll sit in a circle, and we'll talk about the truth. Now it's time to save your own life. In order to create the life that you want, you need to know who you are.
That's what I've been really struggling with. Like, it's a long time.
Who is Pat Molden?
I don't know.
So you have to learn about who you are in a truthful way. You have to be able to face what you've gone through. You have to be able to accept it, forgive yourself, let it go. You know, that's what this is going to be all about. How's the medicine?
Tastes horrible. With a worse aftertaste.
Take your blood pressure. I'm gonna get you to hold this in that hand. One of the biggest things for having medical professionals on site for psychedelic medicines is the fact that they are medicines. It comes with very real side effects and potencies and things we have to watch out for. So we do rigorous pre-screening, just as if you were going for surgery.
You feel high?
Super duper high.
Okay, good. Stare at the ceiling and tell me if you see anything.
Oh, I see stuff. Yeah.
Patrick will now undergo a psycho-spiritual, a trip into his past and present without leaving his mat.
We need to go to the source of the problems to understand how to resolve them. So we will walk in and detoxify his mind, spirit, and body and allow him to reconnect with his own soul and to help heal some tremendous trauma that he's undergone in a war. You know, it's time to like really make amends with yourself, not put yourself through the hardships anymore, right? I want you to go find Pat. Say hi, Pat.
Hey, Patty.
Tell me what he says.
Yo.
Say, how you doing?
How are you doing? He says, I'm all right.
See, I'm here to help you with all of this, and we're here to make amends.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here to make this right.
Say, Pat, can I ask you some questions?
Yeah. Can I ask you some questions then while we're here? Yes, of course. For sure.
I want you to go to Afghanistan and find Patty out there. The day he was digging up the baby. You see that? Just breathe, okay?
I found a scarf, Afghani scarf there, pulled it out, unwrapped it, and there was a dead baby. Oh, wow. I see pain and I see lots of dark, like looks like it's dead.
Say, Pat.
Okay, Pat.
I'm so sorry, man. I know how hard this is to do.
I'm sorry, man. I know how hard this is for you to do right now.
Ask him if the drugs affected your nightmares.
Did the drugs? Yes, 100%. They made everything worse.
You ask him, is it worth me killing myself for this?
Is it worth me killing myself when I can't seem to get past this over and over and over again? No, it's not worth killing yourself over. Nothing is worth killing yourself over.
Exactly, Bessie. I want you to look at Pat, okay, and say this, and we're gonna leave this place.
We're gonna leave this place.
And we're gonna leave all of the destruction and carnage behind us. I want you to bring him back to Canada. And you tell him we don't have to go back there no more.
No, we're not going back there anymore.
All right? All right, you need to clean that mind out from all the meth and the dirty thoughts and the trauma.
Okay.
Now what do you see?
This is bright and clean.
Okay. Ask him how you can heal from this. Say, Pat, how can I heal from this? How can we heal? How can I help you heal?
How can I help you heal from this? What is it gonna take to be able to
get past this. Time, just time, and sobriety. Being nice to yourself, being kind to yourself, meditate, give attention to the dog, and artwork.
Okay. Artwork.
Yeah.
That's it. Say, Pat, do I have a future in art?
Do I have a future in art? Yes, you do, definitely. Fuck yeah. Oh,
It's okay,
fuck.
it's okay. All right?
You scared me.
No, it's okay.
Holy shit, man.
Just lay back and relax because you had your eye mask on, right? It's good. This stuff's done now. And all your new stuff, right? All that stuff that you can leave now in the past. We dealt with it, okay?
Oh, I feel
It's good.
like I'm so on the other side of that.
That was an amazing journey.
I know it's not a miracle and it doesn't happen overnight, but I want to believe in myself again.
It's been 1 month since Patrick Molden's iboga ceremony.
I'll never deny the grip that addiction has had on me. The road away from the right path, once you're on it as an addict, is only one bad decision away. I'm still scared.
What assurances are there what work for Patrick? Well, I mean, obviously, like with everything, you know, you never really know which way it can go.
The same uncertainty faces the entire psychedelic industry.
The issue is, can it be made legally available for those who have a bona fide mental disorder or medical condition?
The problem is that this is such a tricky area right now. They really have to avoid making mistakes.
It is so important that we do the right thing, that we stay ethical. Because really, at any time, if something were to go drastically wrong, the authorities could pull the plug on everything that everyone is doing right now, which would be a travesty.
I think it's a larger conversation about decriminalization.
You know, like legalizing any drug, just like cannabis, you need to have strong educational programs so young people can understand the effects of them, so people can understand what the benefits are, but also what the harms might be.
Already, there are signals of approval.
4 Canadians suffering from terminal illnesses have been approved to receive psychedelic therapy to treat end-of-life distress.
A few patients were granted exemption to consume psilocybin-containing mushrooms as part of their treatment to address their terminal illness anxiety.
And from my conversations with federal and provincial policymakers, I think there's every reason to believe that we'll be able to get the therapies approved within the next sort of 2-year time horizon.
I know that that I've overcome this because the medicine cleaned me out. Like it purged me. It wiped all that toxic shit out of my system, including my heart and my soul. One of the questions that I had asked for guidance with during the psychospiritual was the importance of art. And what role is it going to play in my future? I'm excited today to be part of the Hamilton Art Crawl in Hess Village. It's an art show, basically. You just have an opportunity to show off your work. And so I got a spot down there and got a table and a bunch of my stained glass and my paintings. I wouldn't do it if I wasn't sober. I would like the idea of it, for sure, but I wouldn't put myself out there like that at all. So I'm super pumped.
I would like to know the story on the glass.
Using the beach glass, so I thought I would try and make stained glass out of it.
So broken glass that's out there from who knows what.
The blue, I think, is comes from like the Vicks Vapor Rub bottles. Because I have.
So it's trash.
Yeah,
it's
ocean
garbage.
trash. It's ocean garbage
made into
yeah.
art.
Yeah, yeah.
Good for you.
Hi. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming. Rachel is a very special lady that's come into my life recently, and we were together when we were kids. We were 13, 14 years old, and here we are years later, you know, in different times in our life, and we've reconnected, and it's just really nice. She's absolutely lovely.
You did it.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty neat, all my stuff together like this. For her to come back into my life like this is just so natural. It's so wonderful. She's just so lovely that I'm just like, I still get butterflies in my stomach when I think about her, you know. And what do you think?
I love the colors.
You can really see it in the daylight, you know, like, but I think it turned out all right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty stoked with it. It's the first piece that I made sober. Yeah. And so it's huge.
I love the third eye.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I think like the third eye there, I just feel like it's seeing right into me, man. It's seeing everything that I don't want anybody to see, you know?
Actually, that's very telling.
I mean, the medicine is not like a miracle. It doesn't come in and completely just relieve you and then set you out on your new path. You know what I mean? It helps you get in line with your true path and what you really want. Every breath that you take is glorious, you know? You're free. Your mind is clear. Your heart is open for the potential of an awesome future.
On the next Veracity.
The West Coast is burning. Communities flooded out, wiped out.
It's really scary to imagine it worse than it is now.
It's apocalyptic.
It's an issue that's so serious that we need to take action now.
What are we raising our kids into? What are we doing?
It's up to us to take action and really save the planet.